Hello, this is Coleman. Welcome to a brand new video thing. Today we're reacting to Mr. Nightmare again, because I've run out of ideas. Not really, but I just wanted to react to this because I did say I was going to do this as a series. If you didn't watch the last two videos, I basically what's the word? I basically said I would do this as a series, but if you did not watch the last two videos, I've been on holiday. Yeah, this is my first one since I've been back. Yada. He's released 2 more videos since we've been out, and we're going to obviously watch them all at once as well. So, without further ado, let's get started. Oh yeah, all credits to Mr. Nightmare. I don't know why I don't put that in the description of my videos, but never mind. Alright, let's do this. Seriously, we've not even started yet, you Pokemon ads. There you go,
Hello, no one is available to take your call. Please leave a message after the tone.
Having moved to his West Texas home not even half a year ago, a 28-year-old viewer who I'll refer to as John sent me this voicemail that he received in August of 2021 from an unknown number. John was going about his night when his cell phone began to ring, and on the screen it said no caller ID. This is rather unusual, as for anybody to come up on someone's phone as no caller ID means they went out of their way to intentionally hide their number. Often doctors will do this to keep their privacy from their patients, but other than this and a few other professional circumstances, this is usually at least a slight red flag. John let the call go to voicemail, not wanting to potentially get stuck on the phone with somebody he didn't want to be talking to. This was the voicemail he received.
Hey, I'm outside your house. I found your info online and I could really use a job. Could you open the door?
The message was short but direct.
Seriously?
John immediately thought it was a joke or that they had the wrong number, but naturally he was curious. Either way, he knew he didn't want to open the front door, especially if someone was actually out there. But the man saying that John found his info online made him open up Google and search his own name. The second result on Google led to an online corporation database that listed all of John's public info, including his first and last name, phone number, and new home address. John is self-employed, but for the purpose of tax benefits, he started an S corporation in his name, literally with his name in the title of the business. This means his S corp, along with his name, would eventually be listed on numerous online corporate database websites. Coming to this realization, the voicemail suddenly seemed more legitimate. John went downstairs and inched closer to the front door, trying to be quiet. Someone started to bang on the front door, and a voice from the other side was saying something, but his voice was muffled.
Yo, that is weird though.
John ignored the knocking until it stopped, but seconds later his phone vibrated again as he received a call, again with a no caller ID message. He ignored it again, incredibly scared. Another voicemail was left. This time there was no talking in it though. The knocking on the front door stopped, but moments later a knocking from the back door ensued. He took out his phone and started to record again.
At least he has proof though. At least you can say these are not lying, because there is a weird discussion from years ago that all these, because you know how say this one for example, 3 true scary October stories, people have been saying are they actually true? Well, I don't even mind if they're true or not, but still these actually have proof that they're true though. So yeah, that's something at least. Yo! Sure you wouldn't even knock on the door.
As he turned on the lights, revealing the silhouette on the other side, the situation became even more real for John. The guy called one more time, and Joe picked up, saying, "I have a gun, and I already called the police." The man on the other end claimed he was just looking for work, and he apologized and hung up.
If he was looking for a job, you wouldn't have knocked 5-10 times on one door. You would just give up after the first few knocks. So you could tell this guy meant harm.
And the knocking ceased. John contacted the websites displaying his personal information the next day, but they refused to remove the info. So he went through the process of changing his business name to no longer include his actual name. It's very unlikely anybody who's knocking on both your front and back door late at night and calling your number anonymously is there just looking for a job. If John opened the door, this probably would have had a much different outcome. This was the voicemail received by the girlfriend of viewer Alex Azeri. Alex's girlfriend reached out to him right after hearing it for the first time to get his opinion on it, since his name could slightly be heard in there, to which all he could offer was equal confusion and concern. He assumed it was one of his friends pranking him at first, but after reaching out to all of his friends, they all claimed it wasn't them, and each of them thought it was equally creepy.
I can't even tell what you're saying, man. You're also crying. That is weird, though.
I'm trapped in the dark.
Alex had no outgoing calls, and the person specifically called his girlfriend while mentioning his name, so somehow they must have gotten both of their contact info. Alex and his girlfriend live in different states, and very few people in his life have her number.
Oh, go away.
The voicemail itself is very hard to understand.
Go away,
In the
stupid
beginning, it
male.
sounds like there may be a second person in the background, but it's all very muffled. You can, however, clearly hear that someone is crying into the phone.
I'm trapped in the dark.
At this point, it sounds as though someone is speaking, though it's very difficult to understand.
I'm trapped in
It sounds
the
like
dark.
they're saying, "I'm
Hey.
trapped in the dark," although it could be something else. At first, Alex was unsure if this was just a prank, a hacker, or something else. But after receiving this voicemail, Alex claims a number of strange occurrences happened in his house that same day and the following. First, a door upstairs slammed shut randomly while everyone in the house was downstairs eating dinner. Upon inspecting the bedroom, nobody was inside.
How do you?
Alex
did
and
he
his
actually
brother
go in
also
the whole
apparently
bedroom?
heard what sounded like footsteps coming up the stairs when they were home
I
alone.
think it's like a paranormal.
First, they
situation
considered the
here.
possibility it may have been one of their two dogs, until checking and remembering they had a dog gate standing at the bottom of the stairs, preventing them from coming up the stairs. Each time they looked around the hole upstairs and checked the stairway, they couldn't find anyone. The footsteps also didn't sound like those of a dog. They were reportedly heavier and more spaced out, like a person's footsteps. With this happening the same day and one day after receiving this concerning, unexplainable voicemail, Alex believes the occurrences may all be linked.
I think this is a
Yes, you've
paranormal-
noticed, haven't you? The price of everything seems to be going up and
But-
going up very, very quickly. Well, governments
Get out of my video. I feel like that's like a paranormal situation. Well, plus, well, you can think whatever you want because no, we don't really know what was the outcome of this, if it was a paranormal situation or not. But yeah, I would just say it's a paranormal situation. Don't know why, it just gives me that feeling.
In this video you're about to watch, a couple briefly documents they're listening to two creepy voicemails received on the husband's phone.
Hey man,
How are
how you
you?
doing?
Good.
Ready for the big trip?
Ready for the big trip.
Okay, that sounds good.
They had been receiving strange voicemails for weeks already, both on their cell phones and on the landline. In this video though, the man's phone doesn't even ring. He just gets two straight to voicemail notifications. No phone.
Couldn't his phone be on silent? Without the vibration, because that's what my phone's on. Because I hate that vibration in my pocket every 5 seconds. Well, not every 5 seconds, because no one really rings me at all, but so annoying.
Number or any contact details attached to the voicemail.
You have no new messages. Main menu. To make new messages, press 1. You have new saved messages. First two voice message.
The hell? Bruh.
Message will be saved for 5 days. Next message.
Is that a dog or is that a human screaming? That is weird. Alright, you get it, we get it. Shut up.
Does this show where that was sent from?
Well, I was just sitting where you were, and
my voicemail just went off. No ringing, nothing. It just.
Or like
And that,
though.
like last Tuesday, that was about. It was about a 5-minute voicemail on the.
Okay, so that's
phone,
what your
kind of the same
mother-in-law
thing.
heard too, right?
Yeah.
I call that.
So
The couple inquired about the calls from the phone company as well, both before and after this video. However, they did not have any records of the audio message being received. The couple described the voicemails as sounding like somebody was being tortured, or some kind of creature was screaming into the phone. The couple would also hear strange sounds in the house at night for a week, such as cabinets closing from the kitchen. They believed that what they were dealing with was supernatural. In February of 2021, 30-year-old Martha Ramirez woke up on a Saturday morning with a notification on her iPhone that said voicemail from an unknown number. Upon listening to it, this is what she heard.
Martha. 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 Martha.
The voice you just heard in the voicemail was of Martha's father. This caused her a great deal of confusion and horror. But why? Why was this even remotely concerning? Well, Martha lost her dad to cancer in 2019. At the time this voicemail was left, he had been dead for almost 2 years. She listened to the voicemail over and over, trying to think of any other possible person it could be. But she knew her dad's voice. She knew the way her dad's voice sounded saying her name. She tried to think back to if her dad had ever left a voicemail simply repeating her name multiple times, but she couldn't remember a single instance. Even if she could, that wouldn't explain randomly receiving a voicemail of her father's voice years later. She called her service provider, but they were not able to trace anonymous calls. She asked her entire family if any of them were playing a messed up joke, but when she sent all of them the voicemail, they were all equally disturbed. She claimed she was never a religious person at all, nor is she a believer in the supernatural, but she also doesn't believe this was the work of anybody she knew, or any kind of glitch. She says she actually believes this was her dad's voice contacting her, and it terrifies her deeply.
Well,
This last voicemail was posted to Reddit 3 years ago. Part of the Reddit post read, "To make a long story short, my significant other got a new phone. For the first time, she has visual voicemail. A family member left her a voicemail today, and when checking it, discovered she had several missed voicemails. She started going through the voicemails. Typical stuff, family, bill collectors, but one voicemail dated Friday, June 9th, 2017 at 4:38 p.m. was from a number we do not know. What you just heard was just a small clip from the original 3-minute long audio, which seems to have been removed from the internet without a trace. In this small audio clip though, it sounds like the girl on the other end is saying please help me, and even they have my baby. The rest of the Reddit post read, it's 3 minutes long, and the area code is 480, placing the owner around the Phoenix, Arizona Valley. I've spent all day researching news where their incidents happened the afternoon of June 9th, 2017, and have exhausted my very limited abilities in researching. None of our family members or friends recognize the number either. The voicemail was dated almost a year ago and was not discovered until today. I will be contacting Phoenix police to provide them with the audio, timestamp, and phone number. I *67 the number, it went straight to voicemail. Significant other has had the same phone number for 10 years. Based on a lot of the original replies to the thread, the original audio was so horrific that many couldn't even get through it all. Still, some people believe it to be a hoax. Either way, this voicemail and whoever was behind it still remain a mystery.
Damn! Decent. Bloody hell, anything could be scary nowadays, can't it? I'll just have a bit of my cup of tea. Bloody hell, anything could be scary these days, isn't it? Because in the last, like, even voicemails could be scary. Well, anything could be scary. Like, let's give a list of examples. Text messages could be scary. Block parties could be scary. Christmas is scary, well. Halloween's technically scary anyway, but it's only, that's the part of the year. That's what it's meant to, but not actually like scary and scary, like, as we'll probably see later on, because I'll probably react to some Halloween stories today because it's Halloween. Oh yeah, by the way, if you want to know when my scary story stuff are coming back, it will be coming back soon, don't worry about that. But I mainly this month I want to focus on for the scary story stuff is what's his face? The Halloween stories, and it will obviously be the same in Christmas time as well, so don't worry, they will be coming back, but I will do a big video for the Halloween special. And also, I've been planning my Epic World episodes as well, so yeah. I just wanted to have a chilled out episode today. So watch this one. This is the last, because you only released 2 videos since I've been away. Well, since the last video, so here's the last one, and then we get some older stories.
People with ADHD save 10 hours studying with this Chrome extension. But no, by all means, go ahead, skip the ad.
There you go, you're welcome. This is narrated in first person. Damn. What does that even mean? Like, it's happening right now?
When my dad was around 50, he got an African grey. He always loved parrots his whole life, so I was happy for him to get one after his retirement. He named the bird Kevin. My dad taught Kevin a whole vocabulary of words, and he actually trained him to understand the meaning behind certain words, like hello, what's up, food, thank you, good, and a few others. My dad passed away at 70, and with that came the time to figure out amongst my siblings and I what would happen to Kevin. My brother and sister didn't want the responsibility of taking Kevin into their homes, plus their spouses were against it too. But I couldn't bear the idea of giving him away to a new home. Kevin was and is one of my last connections to my dad. In a sense, that was his best friend, so I decided I would take him into my home.
Aww.
I put his cage in the den of my house. My house doesn't have a basement, so the den is considered the lowest level of the house. Kevin is a moderately noisy bird. He can be a chatterbox some hours of the day, usually earlier on. But later in the day and at night he quiets down. When he's too noisy, I'll throw a blanket over his cage and that normally quiets him down. I watch TV in the den at night to keep him company. Then around 10 I'll migrate to my room to let him go to sleep. That's pretty much the backstory behind Kevin. I've been taking care of him for 2 years now, so I know exactly how he behaves and when he's acting out of the ordinary. Speaking of out of the ordinary, there was one night in December around 11 p.m. that Kevin started making sounds while I was trying to sleep. I sleep with the door open since I live alone and need to be able to hear anything if something's going on in the house. Hearing him making his squawking noises past dark, especially this late at night, is unusual beyond doubt and something was irritating him. I went down to the den to see what was bothering him. He was wide awake on the lower perch of the 2 in the cage. He looked at me and was saying things like hello and what's up and his name. All the while he was nodding his head up and down, moving his whole body in the process as if he were dancing. I tried to feed him, but he didn't eat, so I covered him with the blanket hoping he would stop. I was in the kitchen when I stopped inside because he was still making the noises, and I had a feeling he wasn't going to stop. Having work the next day, I couldn't afford to lose sleep because of him. I really didn't know what to do. I'm still to this day not exactly a bird expert. I went back downstairs and uncovered him. He was still doing his little dance, bobbing his head and body and making his distressed sounds. It didn't click with me until thinking I heard something in the pantry closet a few feet away from his cage. I walked over to it and hovered my hand over the light switch to the pantry, which was outside of the door. The door has one of those big glass panels that many pantry doors have, so when I flicked the light switch, I saw the outline of a body on the inside. My fight or flight response kicked in, and I chose fight. I opened the door screaming, trying to get my adrenaline rushing, and I grabbed the man in the pantry closet out and threw him to the floor.
Damn!
He tried to fight back, but I easily overpowered him and had him in what I could best describe as a chokehold. He was a 50-something-year-old homeless-looking man with a smell to match it. I yelled at him, "Who are you? Why are you in my house?" He tried grabbing my face to possibly gouge my eyes or something, but I continued to wring his neck and punch him. During all this, Kevin was going berserk in his cage. When the man on the floor seemed weak enough, I literally sprinted for the nearest phone and came right back and kept him on the ground while I called 911. The man was taken to jail, but he had no ID on him, nothing. He was homeless and had nothing to his name, and as such he was considered what some people call judgment-proof, meaning even if I tried to sue him, I wouldn't get anything from him. He had raided my pantry closet that night and had opened jars of peanut butter, boxes of cookies and crackers, and all sorts of other boxed and canned foods. If it weren't for my dad's parrot, I don't know what else that man would have taken or done in my house. I'm grateful for Kevin, and I like to think part of my dad is watching over me in that bird.
God damn! I actually like how I like this story because for once the main character's not a coward, because as you've seen from my previous reactions to Mr. Nightmare in the past, he's like every time they're up against a decision like it's a fight or flight situation, they always choose the coward option and run for it. But this guy actually punched him in the face and nearly got him in a headlock. Damn. And well, they could actually do these protagonists could do this more often, because usually if you choose the run option, they usually get away. But yeah, for them not to get away, you have to put matters into your own hands. Here, top tips for you authors in the future.
This story takes place when I was a junior in high school. For context, here's a little background information. Back in the day, I was a pretty involved student, took all the hard classes, and was in a few varsity sports.
Damn.
In one of these ways, I was always busy and didn't have much time for myself, and part of me was thankful for that. It provided me an escape from a world where my parents had recently parted ways and my older brother had just gone to college. It was just me and my little brother then. He also was a swimmer and a smart kid in his own right. We were really similar, even to this day. But probably because of the stresses our family situation put on us at the time, we didn't get along, near at all. One of those wet winter days in the Midwest, I'd put in my time at school and swim, and I still had to sit down for several hours of homework. This time I had to write an essay for some advanced class that I wasn't really interested in. I dropped my swim bag at the door when I got home and looked around my house to see if anyone was home. Empty. Dad must be out with Reese at swim practice. His club team had the slot at the pool after the high school team was done. I popped in a mouthful of Cheez-Its and headed down to the basement to my office to get some schoolwork done. The house was a middle-class 2-story with an unfinished basement, with the exception of what I referred to as my office. From a career past, my dad used to work from home, but no longer did. I was the only one who used this place, so my family, or what was left of it, just called it Quinn's office. So I made my way across the concrete floors and unattached carpet samples down there to the one finished out room in the basement. I flicked on the CFL light. It was like any other night after practice. I still had hours of homework to do. So I turned on the computer and started typing away. I was typing for what seemed like an hour, trying to bring to words to what the concept of hedonism and the picture of Dorian Gray meant to me as best I could, or as convincingly as I could. Out of the dark, I heard my little brother call out to me, "Quinny, come up." Almost reflexively, I called back to him, "Reese, I'm working, what do you need?" We would yell through the house like brothers do, but it took me a minute to realize I didn't hear him come home. I got no response, only for a couple minutes though. Again, I heard my little brother's voice sing out, Quinny, come up." It felt
If that is your little, what if it isn't your little brother? How can you recognize his voice then? Surely, if you didn't hear anyone come home during that time period, well, it depends if you got earphones in or not. They don't specify, because usually people do that when they do schoolwork, me included. You won't. Well, yeah, you won't be hearing anyone come in anyway. But if he didn't, and obviously he's gonna be not his little brother. How do you know that's your? He basically says that's his little brother, but how can you tell? Yeah, I just don't get that. Even though we're pretty much like only I know even halfway through the story yet, but I'm just saying.
strange hearing those words carry across the dark, concrete floor. He's supposed to be at swim practice. I called back out to him.
Oh bloody, I just looked out my window, it's raining, Jesus Christ. Well, I'm recording this on Sunday the 3rd of October, and I'm uploading this tomorrow on Monday. Yeah, I know it's weird, but usually videos as long as my Mr. Nightmare videos, I can't afford to upload them on the same day.
Him, asking if he needed anything, but again, I received no answer. I thought about just starting my essay again, but the family situation was delicate at best, and I didn't want to be in trouble if my little brother actually needed something. I made the decision to get up and go find out for myself.
Why would you start your essay again? Even though, as you said, you've been working on that for an hour. I'm not wasting an hour of my life just to start it again. Nah, way, G.
I bounded up the basement staircase, the only way a high schooler can, and I called out again for my brother. Reese, what's up? I'm really busy. I checked all around the main floor looking for my little brother, or even signs he was home. No shoes, no backpack, so he wasn't home, and there was no car in the driveway either. The only reason my dad would be gone right now would be to pick him up. Satisfied, I turned back for the stairs, when I heard my little brother's voice ring out, Quinny, come up." This time every hair on my body stood on end. It just didn't make sense. He had to be at practice, and if he really needed me, he would have come to me. I go to the base of the second floor stairs and called out to him one more time. "Reese, what's going on? Are you okay?" For a minute, no answer. "Reese, I'm really busy. Can you tell me what's up?" It's quiet for way too long as I stared up the dark staircase. Logically, I had no reason to believe anyone was up there, until I heard Reese's voice calmly speak this time and not call out in his sing-song way those same 4 words. Quinny, come up." "What?" I asked under my breath. I couldn't comprehend the situation. I did quick inventory of any probable scenario. Break-in? Wrong voice. A prank? I would have seen something at this point. It had to be Reese, and maybe helping him would make me a good brother. So I began up the stairs. My heart pounded with each step, and I was about to make the landing to the dark second floor. Then I heard the buzz of the garage door motor. I ran back down the stairs and looked out the window. It was my father's sedan, and him and my little brother got out. I stumbled from the window to the hall where they would enter, and I felt my heart almost stop beating. I collapsed on the floor and just started to cry uncontrollably.
What? Seriously? Did he even say what happened? Oh, bloody hell. Well, we know he's going to be alright because he literally just said.
My heart almost stopped. I stumbled from the window to the hall where they would enter, and I felt my heart almost stop beating. I collapsed on the floor and just started to cry uncontrollably.
Bruh. Seriously? Come on, man.
Want to make some extra spending money online? Branded Surveys offers you a fun way to earn big.
Bruh.
This was like 15 years ago now when I was a kid. I was with my best friend Jackson at some abandoned family resort or bungalow colony type place in New York. It was off a main road and then down a private dirt path driveway entrance, and it was a rather large property with a bunch of old abandoned buildings including at least 10 small bungalows, a main hall, a few bathroom stations, and an indoor pool house. Along with that was an outdoor pool, a shuffleboarding area, and a kid's playground. Everything was old, run down, and with tall, overgrown grass growing over it. We found this place accidentally one time walking down Route 209, but we didn't explore it that day. We came back another night. By the time we went, it was past sunset. The sun was kissing the sky goodnight. It was getting very dark, but we didn't want to come during the day in fear of getting caught and getting charged with trespassing. We brought along walkie-talkies and flashlights with us to communicate to each other when we'd split up. We started looking around the bungalows together. Most of them looked the same and were relatively small. 1 or 2 beds each, a small kitchen, and 1 bathroom each. Some of them had these little living room areas. Halfway looking through these bungalows, I split off from Jackson because he was moving kind of slow. I tried to enter the building that looked to be the main hall or office or something, but every entrance was locked. I walkie-talkied Jackson to tell him that the big building was locked. He didn't walkie-talkie back. I wondered if I was out of range from where he was. 2 minutes later, I found myself at one of the 2 bathroom buildings. It was probably a 400 square foot building. There were no doors to the building though. It was unusual. It just had 2 big openings, one for the men's room, one for the women's room. I remember the signs being faded and worn out looking. Then I saw these red tracks on the dirty old concrete bathroom floor. Now I'm not going to sit here and say they looked like bloody footprints, but I couldn't explain what these red marks could be then, and I still can't say for certain now. Regardless, it was pitch black inside that bathroom around that corner, and that was the first building I was scared to enter. I tried walkie-talking to Jackson again, hoping he was in range this time. I pressed the button on the walkie and said, "Yo, where are you?" When I let go, I heard the beep sound that the receiving walkie makes after getting a message from inside the bathroom.
Oh, damn!
Gave me a near heart attack. Then I thought Jackson must already be in there, hence the red-looking footsteps. I called his name, and it echoed into the bathroom. I was actually about to step into the bathroom thinking he was hiding from me, pranking me, when I heard Jackson's voice call out from the distance behind me, outside in the darkness of the night. I heard him getting closer. Couldn't see him in the dark, but he obviously saw my light, so I yelled back, "I found your walkie-talkie." I started stepping into the bathroom, but then he said back, "Don't go in there, I never went in there." This is when I turned around and hurried right out of there. I pressed and released the talk button really quick on my walkie, causing the beep again from inside that pitch black women's room. Jackson and I looked at each other for half a second, then began dashing in the direction we came. We made it back to Route 209 and had to stop to catch our breaths. This is when Jackson told me that inside one of the bungalows he went into, he tried walkie-talking me, but I wasn't answering, meaning we must have been out of range. But then he heard a noise from the living area of the bungalow. As he turned around, his flashlight revealed an older woman almost running towards him. He dropped his walkie-talkie and flashlight and ran out from the bungalow. He ran in the dark and hid, refraining from making noise in fear of being followed. He hid for a questionable amount of time before looking around and seeing my flashlight across the field, over at the bathrooms. The most likely explanation to me was that some cracked-out drug addict was hiding or living in that abandoned bungalow and for whatever reason lunged at Jackson and picked up his walkie-talkie. What she was doing in that bathroom, who knows? Maybe drugs, maybe the bathroom in the bungalow didn't work. But what I don't know is why was there a trail of what looked like blood in there? Those are my theories, but I can't explain all of it away. And that's the scariest part.
God damn! Right, which one to react to now? Right, let's go on the channel itself. I probably will react to this at some point, maybe in this video, maybe in the next one. Let's go on videos. I might go from the older videos, like, I don't know if I should go to the oldest videos or not. Well, let's go to like this area of YouTube videos. I know I've reacted to this one, I've reacted to that one. I don't know if I think I've reacted to this in older videos. Let's watch these. Let's go to 3 scary vacation stories first, and then we'll go from there. Oh, the dog. Oh thank God, there's no sound for that advert. I don't.
My girlfriend and I love skiing. It's how we met. So last year, during both of our vacation times, we Airbnb'd a 1-bedroom cabin in Colorado by Vail Mountain. One of my friends told us getting a private cabin was a lot more cozy, peaceful, and romantic. After landing at the airport, we taxied to a rental car place and rented a Honda Civic, probably the cheapest car we could get. We drove a constant uphill through the sludge on the roads until we pulled off the main road onto a more foresty side road. Eventually, we made it to the cabin. Far and isolated from anyone else, but not too far where getting to the mountain would be a pain in the ass. The owner left the key hidden in the mailbox. As soon as I unlocked the door and we stepped inside, we got a huge whiff of, I guess, wood. It literally smelled exactly how you'd expect a log cabin to smell. It wasn't huge, but it was spacious enough. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, decent living room with a TV and a kitchen. I was paying chump change for it, so I was more than happy with it. Plus, we were there to ski, not sit around the cabin. We got there towards the end of the day, so we didn't hit the slopes that night. We actually just unloaded and got right back on the road to pick up a pizza for dinner. We got back and ate on the couch in the living room while watching a movie. With the dark, moody lighting and the whole log cabin atmosphere, it actually was quite romantic. Until my girlfriend started freaking out about her bag. Apparently it wasn't where she left it, which was on the coffee table in the living room. I helped her look around, though there wasn't much space to search. She was absolutely positive she left it on the coffee table. It wasn't in the bathroom, kitchen, or living room, so I checked the bedroom, and sure enough, it was sitting right next to the bed. I picked it up and brought it to the doorway of the bedroom with a smirk on my face. My girlfriend didn't seem as relieved as I thought she would be, though. She accused me of moving it and going through her bag, which I found downright insane.
Meh.
We had a bit of an argument until I convinced her that she in fact put her bag in there and that she had just forgotten. We went back to eating and watching the movie, and we got over the argument quickly. The next day, we hit the slopes from early morning till dusk. We stopped on the way back to the cabin to get dinner again. When we returned back to the cabin, we both immediately noticed the living room light was on. My girlfriend was slightly freaking out. I told her to chill.
Chill, brother.
The front door was still locked, so that confirmed nobody had broken in. I thought obviously one of us left the light on by mistake and didn't notice earlier because it was bright out. So once again, we ate our food and watched a movie. When suddenly, out of nowhere, my girlfriend shrieked. I jumped up and looked at her. She had one hand covering her mouth, the other pointing at something on the ground. At first I didn't see it, but when I got up confused and moved closer, I saw it. It was a pair of somewhat fresh boot marks in the rug in the corner of the living room. The snow from the boots had melted into wet stains in the area rug. Obviously both of us wore boots, but I just didn't remember stepping over there. My girlfriend asked me to check around the cabin to make her feel safe, so I did. I peeped under the kitchen table, behind the living room couch, in the bathroom, and I took a peep in the bedroom. There didn't appear to be anyone in the cabin. There weren't really many places to hide anyway. Still, she was scared and seemed to lose all interest in the movie. She went to the bathroom and brushed her teeth, then went to the bedroom to change, and I heard her jump into bed. So I did all the same. I climbed into bed and shut the light, and we sat there for a while just talking. It was actually only like 9 or 10 p.m. My girlfriend kept letting me know how uncomfortable she was, thinking someone was in the cabin. So I told her, okay, just wait 1 second. I took out my phone and dialed the Airbnb host. I put the phone up to my ear and heard it ring. I don't mean the ring coming from the phone speaker. I meant I heard a loud, muffled ringing coming from behind the wall next to the bed. The ringing stopped as soon as I saw my call was rejected. My girlfriend started screaming, "Oh my God." I told her to calm down as I got up and approached the wall to the left. I noticed an ever so slight crack in the wall that looked like it could be a door. My girlfriend screamed at me not to open it, but I got myself angry, yelled, and pulled open the door. There I was, faced with a small hidden closet, and inside, a man hiding behind a cardboard box in the corner.
Damn!
The host, the owner of the cabin. I'd seen his picture on the listing. I'll admit, I jumped and screamed in fear and shock when I saw him, but anger overcame me and I grabbed him by his shirt and pulled him out. I knew he looked creepy based on his picture. He had his hands up, apologizing. I told him to shut up. I looked deeper in the closet, and to my disgust, found some of my girlfriend's underwear. It took way too long for the police to arrive, but he was arrested. We had to spend the rest of that night at a hotel, and the next day we went home. I requested compensation from Airbnb, and it took months for them to refund me, but they eventually did. This story was so bizarre and disturbing, I don't even expect everyone to believe it when I tell it, but it was oh too real.
Damn, that is actually... I hate people like that, man. Seriously. It's actually weird, and I can't remember. I don't think I've watched this one on the channel yet before, so it's something at least.
When my best friend Lizzie and I were 18, we went on our first vacation alone together to London. We were staying at the London Marriott Hotel. The first
London. Out of all the places to go on holiday, you chose bloody London. Seriously?
thing we did upon arrival was, of course, to get there and drop off all our
but I don't think that's
luggage.
much of a holiday.
We'd be there for a whole week, so we had to set our itinerary. It was late in the day already, so we didn't have much time that day. But we did want to see something at least, so we went to see Big Ben, which is that iconic big clock tower that everyone knows in pictures when you think of London. After that, we went to a nearby tavern for dinner called...
People say the clock tower in My Epic World looks like the Big Ben. Don't know why. Well, I can see why. They look well, they don't know why they look similar. They just looks only because they're both clock towers. But I don't know how My Epic World's clock tower looks the same as that, like, or similar. Yeah, I could tell why they think like that, because obviously, like, reason, like, they're both clock towers, but still weird. I just thought I had to bring that up.
Called St. Stephen's Tavern. It was money, but good thing our dads were paying for this trip. After leaving the tavern, it was like 9 o'clock, and we were wanting to go out and experience the nightlife. We agreed we'd first have to go back to the hotel and shower and change first. As we were walking, a young, attractive man overheard us talking about the nearby bars we were looking at on our phones, and he stopped us. Something about him immediately was just charming that grabs both my and Lizzie's attention. And if it weren't for that, maybe we wouldn't have been so receptive to him telling us about a big apartment party that one of his rich friends was throwing that night, and that two attractive ladies like ourselves would fit right in. Lizzie and I looked at each other and laughed. We said we'd be down, and he said great, the party doesn't start till 11. He asked for my number, so I gave it to him. Then he said he'd text me the details and see us later, and down the street he walked. Lizzie and I were super excited. It was only the first night and we were already invited to a crazy London party. We figured if we played our cards right with the wealthy people at this apartment party, we would have people to hang out with the rest of the trip. We got back to the hotel, showered and changed, and we pre-gamed with a little vodka first to loosen ourselves up. I think we drank more than we should have though. I texted the guy we met, realizing we didn't even get his name. He texted back quickly with the address to the apartment, so we loudly marched into the street to wait for our Uber. It was a 15-minute Uber drive to get to the apartment, and when we got there, we couldn't believe how different the architecture of this apartment building was compared to something back home in America. I pressed the code for the apartment, and we were quickly buzzed in. We took the elevator to the 5th floor. We were excited, but nervous, not knowing what to expect. The alcohol was definitely helping, though. I knocked on the door to the apartment, but we didn't hear music inside, which was odd. We were nervous we had the wrong apartment, until the young man from earlier opened the door. He hugged us hello, and welcomed us into this dead, quiet apartment.
Oh yeah, all life of a party is in a dead apartment with nobody in it apart from the guy himself. Who needs an actual party when you can just go to like a club or something? But nah, you can just go to an apartment in the middle of London. And when he says when there's rich people there, there's obviously not going to be anyone there. But if there is they're going to be drug dealers. I know they will. I've watched too many of these videos over the past few years, and I can already tell where this is going.
Shut the door, and we asked, "Where is everyone?" He said, "Oh, it's still early, don't worry." We looked around the apartment, and it was not at all as big as we were expecting for an apparent rich guy.
He did say his rich friend. He did. Well, I don't know what. Well, I don't know if that guy was rich or not, but still.
His friend who owned the apartment was. The man said he was getting things ready in his room. He told us to sit and make ourselves comfortable. I remember looking at my phone and seeing it was like 11:30. Lizzie and I sat down, and I could tell by her face she was as put off by this as I was. The man sat down on the same couch as us, next to me. He was uncomfortably close. Suddenly, another man came out from another room. He didn't say anything. He didn't smile. He just looked at us as he walked towards the door to the apartment, and he just stood there. The man on the couch with us started asking us questions like where we were from and if it was just us two visiting here. I started feeling sick to my stomach. The man next to us got up and went to the kitchen to get us some drinks. The man by the door stood there. Lizzie was to the left of me, so she was more hidden from view. I whispered in her ear to dial 911. She did so, and I noticed her tapping on the phone multiple times, indicating to the call taker that we needed help. Lizzie then suddenly called out loudly to the man in the kitchen, "This is apartment 5C, right?" The man at the door said yes in a deep, unfriendly voice. I whispered to Lizzie again that we needed to stall, and not to drink any drinks the man gave us. As I was whispering to Lizzie, the man standing at the door called to the man in the kitchen to hurry up with the drinks, and then he came back from the kitchen with the drinks. I had to think on my feet, to stall as long as possible before drinking whatever he just set in front of us. I put on a fake and bubbly persona and said we should play Would You Rather. I know it sounds juvenile, but I had to think of a game that didn't involve drinking. The man seemed to play along with it, so me and Lizzie started coming up with Would You Rather questions. And he started coming up with some of his own, but he would often suggest we take a sip of our drinks, saying the guests would be there soon and that we needed to loosen up some more. I stalled for as long as I could, saying we already drank a lot, but we'd be down to drink more in a little bit. I remember when things were about to turn really south. The two men looked at each other. Then the bigger, scarier man at the door came over and said, "All right, drink your drinks." He was about to reach for one of the glasses to probably force in my face, when there was an aggressive banging at the door, followed by a man shouting police. The younger man looked at us and asked, "Did you call the police?" I said, "No, why and when would we?" But my voice cracked as I said this, indicating I was nervous. Lizzie apparently just decided the hell with my story and screamed help. The police started to attempt to kick the door down, but the bigger man screamed, all right, and opened the door with his hands up. The two men tried playing innocent. Lizzie and I had to fabricate the story a little bit, saying the two men basically forced us into the apartment and wouldn't let us leave, and that we were pretty sure they drugged our drinks. That was enough to get the men arrested. A second police car arrived to escort us to the station for further questioning. The drinks were tested, and it turned out to no surprise they were roofied.
Bah.
This was definitely a scarring experience, but we didn't let it ruin our trip to London. In fact, we never told our parents until years later, just because it would probably make them less likely to let us travel anymore. The alcohol definitely didn't help our initial decision making in the night. But our advice would probably be don't ever trust strangers, no matter what they look like.
Bingo!
When I was 14, my parents took us on a trip to a family resort. It was in the middle of nowhere, and it was the most countryish, old-style resort you could ever imagine. Every building was made of wood, there were big creepy bugs crawling around, the inside of the resort halls all smelled like cigarettes. I felt too old to be in there with my family, especially since I'm the only boy out of my siblings, and my sisters were 9 and 5 at the time. I tried looking for teens my age to make friends with, but it really seemed like it was just families with younger kids. However, I met this girl who was 15. We met in the little arcade hall when I was with my 2 sisters. She came up to me and said, "Hey." As it turned out, she was staying here with her family too, and she wasn't having a good time either. So we started to hang out. She seemed kind of cool, a little strange, had somewhat gothy vibes to her. Her name was Alyssa. The next day, I ran into her again as I was passing by the pool. She waved me over, and she said let's go for a walk in the woods by the river. As we did, I tried to get to know her more. I asked her what building her room was in. She hesitated before her answer and then said, "The one next to the main hall." It was a vague answer. We sat by the river for a while, and I gotta admit, she started talking about some weird, dark stuff. I won't get into it, but I started to think she had some issues. Then she looked up at me and said, "Can we go to your room?" I lit up with excitement inside. I was a 14-year-old boy, hormones raging, so obviously I said yes with a little too much excitement.
Buddy, yeah, calm down.
In me, imagining the best case scenario. We got close to my room and she asked for the card to open the door, and she ran ahead to open it. We sat on my bed for a few minutes. I was a bit awkward, so I didn't know how to make a move or if to make a move. She started talking about deep, dark stuff again though. How she hated her family, how she had no more friends, how she likes the feel of blood, whatever that meant.
Bleh.
Then out of nowhere, she flicked open a huge switchblade and looked at me. She told me sometimes she thinks about using this on herself or someone else. That was the moment this went from weird to disturbing. This wasn't going where I thought it was. It was actually going in a much darker, scarier direction. The way she looked at me with the knife flicked open was scaring me. She looked at me and said, "Do you want to use this knife on someone here?"
No.
I thought over my answer and said, "I don't know, I have to think about it." Obviously I would never, but this girl's true psychotic nature had just come out, and I had to play it safe. I said we should go back outside and walk around. She said okay. So we went back outside and walked around the resort grounds. I watched the way she looked at people passing by, staring them down, not caring when they would notice. Luckily, I saw my parents straight ahead, and I said, "Oh shoot, there's my parents. I should probably go hang out with them." Alyssa looked a little bit annoyed. All she said was, "Okay." I said, "See ya," and she just looked at me. I went to my family, and for the rest of the day and night, I stayed with them, hoping to not run into that freaky girl again. That night, we got back to the room around 9. This resort had huge rooms, so basically I had my own room that was attached to my parents' and sister's room, but it also had its own door into the hall. Anyway, I went to sleep, or at least tried to. Half an hour into laying in bed, I heard the beep from the door unlocking, and then the door to my room opening and closing. By the time I fully looked up, the door was shut and the light from the hall was gone. I saw someone standing in front of the door though. "Who is it?" I said. I heard a familiar girl's voice. "I want blood." I sat up and remembered I never got my key card back from Alyssa. She planned this. She approached my bed in the dark with something in her left hand because she had it lifted. She said it again. "I want blood. Will you help me, or will I get it from you?"
No, not me.
I'm not ashamed to admit it. I screamed like a goddamn girl. She still stood there. She didn't charge at me, she didn't run at first. When my dad burst into the room though, that's when she took off. My dad saw her, and I yelled she was about to kill me. He was about to go after her, but I screamed, "Don't, she has a knife." Everyone in the hall came out of their rooms to see what was going on. We went down to the main office to get some info on this Alyssa girl, and out of all the guests, there was no one named Alyssa. Hell, there were no girls even close to her age staying at the resort at that current time. Police were called and like 4 cop cars showed up and searched the whole perimeter. I think like 2 or 3 cop cars stayed overnight since there were so many kids at the place. The key card lock was changed on our door for the night. A lot of families, including mine, left the next day, and we got a refund for the 2 days we cut short. This whole thing was actually insane. That girl was fucked up in the head, and it's scary knowing she was probably in the early stages of being a completely different monster.
Damn! That was actually insane though. Oh, bloody hell. Just go back down again. Brilliant. There you go. No, that was actually sick though. But especially though, like, that whole video is sick, especially that last one.
Headaches? Fever? Blocked nose? Just coughs. Look to Lemsip.
Let's do some paranormal stuff now. Yo, the chair moving.
This clip was taken by a Bangkok Airways pilot. The footage appears to show passengers towing their luggage through a connecting bridge towards the terminal of Phuket International Airport in southern Thailand. However, the bridge doesn't appear to be connected to a plane, leaving everyone to wonder where all the passengers were coming from. Some concluded that it may have just been the reflection from another bridge, while others still believe that they may have been the ghostly figures of dead passengers.
Damn.
This footage was captured by a Redditor who works as a night shift security guard at a hospital. On his first patrol through this hallway, he says the wheelchair was on the other side, and on his second patrol, he found it moved to the other side. So he started recording, and this is what he caught on video.
Do you say come on? You literally expected something to happen.
See, I fucking no.
He said this was really the only time he'd ever experienced anything paranormal like this. This next footage was captured by a homeowner's Nest camera, which is a camera designed to help homeowners monitor any suspicious activity around their homes. In this case, the owner continuously received messages from Nest saying it thinks it heard someone in the garage, or that it detected motion. Multiple strange occurrences happened through the span of a few hours, starting with a strange floating object near the center of the room.
God damn!
Throughout the footage, many orbs can be seen flying across the room, and in a few instances, the pinball machine in the back turns on by itself, and the pool balls even seem to move on their own.
Damn! Oh yeah, I have a camera like that, but it's not like, it's one of the new ones. I can't remember what it's called, but like at Christmas time, like you usually have something on your door, like I don't know what it's called, the wreath or something on the door that always detects motion, and you get like 300 messages from it a day during like December, like during the Christmas time period, like from the decorations are put up to when you take them down in the New Year's time. That's what we usually do. So, and yeah, you usually get like 200, 300 messages from that camera a day, and that's mad. Like I don't have the app, but like, and my parents have like, yeah, that, and it's annoying after a while, to be honest with you. But and yeah, I do love Christmas though. It's my favourite time of year, and Halloween as well. Most kids my age don't really like Halloween or don't really bother with it, but I just love Halloween, because nowadays I could just focus on Epic World or whatever specials for Halloween and Christmas. Don't really got a good Halloween special and the Christmas special for Epic World this year. You do have to wait to find out what they are.
Captured by an Argentine security guard named Raul Arguello. Raul had ventured below the bleachers of the stadium he works at to investigate a dressing room door which had been repeatedly opening and closing seemingly on its own. He was filming on his mobile phone in hopes of catching the possible culprits on camera. However, when he opens the door, no one is there. Unbeknownst to him, however, he captures the brief moment a specter quickly passes along the benches, crossing the video frame from left to right and disappearing through the wall.
Bueno, ya son como las 11 de la noche.
Oh yeah, that's at the bottom, just tell you he's in English. Because obviously he's not English.
La tercera vez que estoy escuchando este ruido de mierda. No sé qué está pasando, pero lo quiero grabar ahora para que después me crea la gente. Porque
we'll react to that one next. Because I don't know, I've not seen that one yet, so that's going to be interesting.
Esto nunca me pasó y nada, lo quería grabar. No sé yo, estoy podrido, la concha de la lora. Pero mi linterna, no sé para qué enviar la frente. Dios. Puta que te parió. La puta que te parió.
God damn.
Concha de la lora. La concha de la lora. Pero como mierda puede ser que no haya nada. Ay. Ya es la tercera vez.
Yo! The hell is that?
Tercera vez que entro y no hay nada. Dios. Quiero ir. Quiero ir.
Go then, G.
He stated he didn't see the ghostly figure himself, and only noticed it hours later when he checked the video footage on his phone. A home renovator was hired to remodel and sell a home, and turned on his camera after suspecting there's a squatter in the house after hearing mysterious sounds coming from around the house. What he eventually finds is something he says he couldn't explain.
Doing this cabinet crown, and I think there's a squatter in this house. I think it's in here. Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Anybody here? Hello? Hello? What the heck is that? Hello?
If that was me, I would have just, like, pooped
Who
myself.
is it?
They dropped the camera. Yo!
Apparently, the man didn't finish work on the house under the belief that there was a ghostly or demonic presence inside.
I don't really blame them, to be honest. I wouldn't really want to do anything in
In this video, we watch as airport security guard Francisco Hernandez, who was finishing up his shift, heard a mysterious noise coming from a seemingly empty plane at a Mexico City airport. So he went to investigate, having no idea what he was about to see. He had to search the plane as part of the airline's protocol after hearing noises, and it's more than clear the plane was supposed to be empty.
That actually looks creepy though. I hate this music.
Verga.
I hate this music.
the man shines his light down the aisle, a dark figure peers around the corner at him twice. The second time it happens, he notices it, sending him running in fear.
No mames.
That. I would not. I would hate to go on a plane at night. Like, well, I've already been on a plane at night because when I came back on holiday, I went at night. But abandoned plane. Seriously, no, that could be a good topic subject for Mr. Nightmare. Like plane horror stories. Right, react to this one.
Toning?
Feel your hamstrings turn on.
For just 10 minutes? Challenge accepted.
Time for some action. Ooh, good choice. Well, no.
It's a hack and it's spreading.
And do we know who's behind it?
Not yet, but we're working on it.
We've just lost New York.
All systems active.
Works every time.
You can skip ad.
From plates being pulled off tables to pets acting as if they sense an unwanted presence, here are 10 freaky alleged poltergeists caught on video. Number 10. This was the footage captured on CCTV in the Carlisle Castle Hotel. The first camera shows a small dining area where a white transparent figure resembling a person is seen waving its arm in front of the camera.
Hello.
This goes on for almost 30 seconds. Then the video cuts to another camera aimed at a bar. Right as this guy opens up the fridge, 2 bottles fall out from one of the compartments. Now the first one is a bit understandable as it seems to already be sitting on the edge, but a second bottle also follows after the first one and it falls out at an angle that looks as if it were pushed. And then in this final scene, in public view for many guests to see, a glass suddenly breaks on the counter behind the bar. If you look closely, it appears that the glass fell down from above, probably where the other glasses were hanging. So were these 3 strange events something of a hoax, a coincidence, or is the Carlisle Castle Hotel really haunted? Number 9.
God knows.
So we see a young woman sitting and eating alone in a buffet. Moments after she gets up to get another plate, things start to move and fall off the table. We don't get to see what happens when she returns, but if this were to be a hoax, the participants would have had to have known where the surveillance camera was pointed and somehow attached strings to the objects on the table without catching any suspecting or curious eyes of employees.
Yo!
Plus, the reactions the people sitting at the other tables give isn't really something you would expect if they were looking at some strange guy sitting pulling strings to pull dishes off a table. You would expect them to look longer out of curiosity, but then again, maybe it's also not the kind of reaction people would give to something falling off a table all on its own. If this is a hoax, would performing it be a bit difficult? Probably. Would it be possible? Yes. Was it a hoax? That's up for you to decide. Number 8. In this one, we see a guy shopping in a convenience store when a small pink object seems to float out from the shelf behind him, while at the same time a yellow object of the same size falls off the shelf onto the ground. As the guy picks it up, the floating pink object falls to the floor as well.
Bruh.
Check this out, right? This guy here, watch behind his head. Keep watching. Just look at the shelf. It's the weirdest thing.
Oh my god, what is that?
It's just flowing, I don't know.
Oh my god. Oh my god, that looks like a poltergeist or something like that. You know when they hear about things like flying, oh my god, I don't like it.
It's weird, isn't it?
Here's another video in a small store with things falling off the shelves. From this angle, it appears these items fall off the shelves from different levels at completely different times. And while on the topic of convenience stores, check out this weird footage of a shopping cart seemingly moving on its own after hours in a small store. Apparently ghosts have to do their shopping at night.
Apparently, Mr. Nightmare. Yo! Who knew? Ghosts do their shopping at night time. So while you're tucked up in bed, the last thing you think of before you go to sleep is, the ghosts are shopping in my local B&M. Or Tesco. Well, they have to have some hours. Well, ghosts have to go shopping at some point. Why not at night when everyone's buggered off?
Number 7. This innocent employee of what appears to be a party store is minding his own business doing stock work when the merchandise that he throws on the floor begins to slide away on its own. He seems to take notice of the sounds of the sliding objects, but looks in all the wrong directions. When something falls off the shelf in the background, the employee takes off running. Number 6. In this clip, recorded on security cameras in the Brookside Theater in Romford, a chair moves backwards unaided and a table appears to get pulled as orbs of light float across.
What's that? What's these two geezers over there? Oh, I can't really tell if they are geezers or not.
Across the room. Theater manager Jace Seppel revealed that he decided to look at the CCTV footage when he came in on Sunday and noticed one of the chairs was askew. After checking the CCTV footage, he noticed a chair in the third row appeared to move backwards unaided. He quoted, "I never usually check the CCTV cameras as there is so much on there, we would only ever check it if there was an incident," he said. Roy Roberts, a medium performing at Brookside on Saturday night, believes that the video could indicate a resident ghost at the theater. Number 5. This video is said to have been recorded in a Malaysian hotel. A woman sitting in the hotel dining area appears to be attacked by a ghost. It first moves a few chairs, but when she tries to make a run for the door, it proceeds to throw a table and chairs up against the door and even throws a table in her path, and it looks like she gets hit and knocked out.
Yo! God damn!
Number 4. This one is the CCTV recording in a public library after hours. You notice there are two things circled, one being a book and the other something hanging from the ceiling. The book suddenly begins to seemingly levitate on its own before being dropped back down, all while the object in the background hanging from the ceiling seems to begin spinning on its own. Was somebody in the library after hours just to pull a prank? Or is there some kind of entity living in this library simply looking for a good read?
Probably the second thing.
Number 3.
Well, I don't know.
This is the footage shot by a fellow YouTuber. It starts out with the man trying to catch footage of his pet's strange behavior. For the good first half of the video, he tries to get his dog to come out from under the bed, then hears a knock from up in the attic and decides to check it out.
Hey, what's the matter, girl? Come here. What's the matter? Are you okay? Come here. Come on up. You okay? What do you hear?
Nah. Cute dog.
What is it? What is it, girl?
What's wrong with you?
is that?
What the hell?
The hell?
Yo!
Jesus Christ.
Bloody hell. That's freaky though. He left his phone. Someone's trying to turn his phone. Damn it, Xbox.
Number 2. Another YouTuber posted the footage of the camera he placed on his kitchen table when he wasn't home. This one needs no description. Just watch and be the judge yourself.
That is weird though. Why is everything why is all the cabinet doors coming out at once? Opening at once. Bloody hell. Yo! Bloody hell! I bet that's the hell to creep The Teddy did a 360, but bloody hell, I bet that was a hellhole to clean up when he got home. Jesus Christ.
1. During the early hours of November 1st, 2012, security watching CCTV monitors at an office building in Manchester witnessed a startling series of events in which a ghost seems to wreak havoc in the office. This is the actual footage seen by those security guards as they switched from camera to camera.
Is there really anything scary to come up here? I don't know really. Well, obviously nothing's going to come up, it's just paranormal stuff. Yo, the chair though! Oh, Jesus. Oh, wait a second. But yeah, that's quite a... Bloody hell. Yo! Get on with it, will you? Yo! Well, another bat. Thank you. Well, another bat, thank you. Bloody hell, what does this go on for? Frick! Where did that come from? Why is that so much on scene? Yo! Please end! Right then. This is actually mad though. Is this like a business office thing?
Everyone is free to have their own theories and beliefs, and whether these videos are genuine or not, you have to admit they're always entertaining to watch and can even give a good spook. I hope you enjoyed this list.
I love how it says at least 2 videos weekly, and look at the last few. Look at his channel catalog. I'm not saying that's a bad thing because obviously he's busy with his own stuff, but you know, I'm so glad he's still doing these stories because they are fun to watch and they're worth the wait. But I just wish you could do them a bit more. But I understand now that I've been doing horror story narrations, they're not easy to make. Especially with the vacation stories not that long ago. Yes, as you can probably tell, I make the stories I've been doing recently is pretty much based on these kind of videos. Right. Ooh, let's do that one. Doorbell Crypts. Oh, that's weird though. That's weird though. And then we'll try and find some ones from like 2018 to 2019.
This is more than a mirror. This is a portal to your future.
And bring it. Come on!
Introduce.
Yo!
This video was captured by a Reddit user's doorbell camera. He claims to have woken up to his dog going crazy outside, followed by a notification from the app Ring, saying motion was detected at his door.
That's why I have that app.
Upon opening the app, he's greeted to nothing but an eyeball looking directly into his camera, and a man whispering and mumbling to himself. He proceeds to knock and ring the doorbell. He then begins trying his luck at the doorknob and window, all the while still mumbling and whispering to himself. After the homeowner threatens to call the police, the man gets defensive and claims he was just looking for his dog, conveniently named Fido.
Okay, I was just looking for my dog, Fido. Whoa. You don't have to get all like that and stuff, honey. You know, we could be friends.
That is weird. Oh yeah,
In this video, we see a man seemingly waiting to be let into a house. Whether it's his house or not is unknown. As he waits by the door, a strange animal-like transparent figure can be seen floating towards the door, and as it reaches and passes the man, he turns, possibly reacting to a sound he may have heard. These are two clips that were likely taken back during the entire clown epidemic of 2016.
The clown
In this first clip, we see someone dressed as a clown wielding a small sword, lurking around by the front door for a bit and running off after ringing the doorbell. Similarly, in this next clip, someone dressed as a clown can be seen standing in the distance, looking at the front door. After a while, he approaches the door, seems to stare into the doorbell camera for a few seconds, then walks away. Whether these were pranks meant to scare the homeowners or not, most people wouldn't want to open their doors to these two.
I don't want to open my doors to anyone, period, to be honest.
In this video, around 2 p.m., the man in the dark hoodie seen here apparently rang the doorbell and no one answered. The man who lives in this house was wearing headphones, therefore couldn't hear the doorbell. So the man in the hoodie likely presumed no one was home, and soon returned with his friend in the white hoodie around 15 minutes later. The man in the dark hoodie attempts to kick in the door while his friend in the white hoodie stands by. The man who owns the house is able to hear the loud bangs of the attempted burglar's foot hitting the door, and he yells out something unintelligible that scares the two men off. In this video, the camera catches a shirtless man approaching the door, but instead of actually ringing the bell or knocking on the door, he pretends to knock on the door. What you can't see on the screen is a car that's waiting for the man in front of the house. According to the homeowner, he could be seen talking to someone waiting in the car off camera later on. It's likely that the shirtless man was forced to do something by the person in the car, clearly something that he doesn't want to do given that he fakes an entire conversation with the homeowner, all the while checking to make sure the person in the car could see him talking.
Okay. Sorry about that. Sorry.
It was apparent he or the person in the car were looking for a person named Matt, who they thought lived in this house. One could only imagine what this man was put out to do to this Matt person. In this video, the doorbell camera detects motion, but seemingly nothing appears in the frame, except for a small, white orb that floats across the screen.
Yo, there's an orb.
Some paranormal investigators have referred to orbs appearing in pictures and videos from allegedly paranormal sources. Apparently the orb in this video is significant enough to trip the motion sensors of the camera system.
Orby.
This one isn't a video, but rather a pretty disturbing picture caught by a Redditor's doorbell camera.
Oh god.
After being woken up by a notification on their phone, they checked it to see a message saying, "Your doorbell detected a visitor." After checking the app, They didn't see anything, and as anyone would, assumed it was maybe a bug or a small animal that tripped the motion sensor. However, the Redditor received more notifications, and after checking the app again, was faced with this disturbing image. Whether it's even a male or female is almost impossible to tell, but perhaps the most disturbing part of the image is the shape and distance of the person's eyes. It's not something anyone would ever want to see at their front door.
I don't even want to see it, period. Jesus Christ, that's
In this
weird.
video, we see someone wearing a mask approaching the door and covering the doorbell with a piece of tape. The homeowner got an alert that motion was detected on the porch, and upon checking the footage was ready to grab his gun. It's not known what was done while the tape was covering the camera, but eventually one side of the tape peeled off, revealing the person in the mask was gone. The homeowner doesn't know if it was simply kids playing a prank or someone who meant him and his family harm. This video shows exactly why you should always check who's outside your door before opening it.
On the doorbell.
This doorbell camera caught two men in front of the house. One of them approaching the front door and ringing the doorbell, armed with a gun. He attempts to hide his face as he approaches the door, then hides off to the side, waiting for someone to open up. The other man walks down the sidewalk, waiting for his friend to do whatever he was about to do, but luckily nobody answered the door.
Thank God for that.
This homeowner's camera captured two suspicious men pull up in their driveway and wait outside their front door. The one on the left quickly notices the camera and the two flee. But not even 15 minutes later, the two pull up into the homeowner's driveway again, having apparently decided they'd go through with the break-in anyway. This time, one of them immediately attempts to kick the door down, but the homeowner is ready this time and speaks through the doorbell speaker, claiming the police are on their way, scaring the two off for good this time.
That took long, didn't it? Dude, we was there for like barely 30 seconds.
On September 10th, 2018, a Florida man wearing a bulletproof vest and carrying an assault rifle rang his neighbor's doorbell at 4 in the morning. The homeowner grabbed her two children and stayed put in the bathroom. After spotting the man on her security footage, she immediately called the police and her husband, who was out of town for work. Roughly 25 minutes later, the police arrived. The man faced aggravated assault charges. The homeowner said the daughter of the unnamed man had stayed at their home recently, claiming she was afraid of her own father.
I don't blame you, to be honest, kid.
At some off hour in the night, this man's doorbell camera captures a mysterious, transparent-looking, blurry figure slowly moving down the sidewalk across the street.
You can just about see it there, where my mouse is, if you can see the mouse. You just about see him there, but I think he disappears. There you go, you get a bit of a zoom in now.
It closely resembles a human, and that's what most may assume. But the weird part of this one is that after reviewing the footage, the homeowner asked a neighbor who also had a camera to check their footage at the same time, and their footage didn't reveal the figure walking down the sidewalk.
God damn! Right, next one. I don't know how many souls we react into this video. As many as we want, to be honest. I'm not doing anything, so you know. Right. Let's watch this one, and then we'll watch maybe this one. I don't know yet. I don't know if I've seen that one before, or if not, that like one of these ones here. Alright, let's go this one. Let's go. No. Let's go. 1, let's go.
I was house sitting for my grandma one weekend while she went to Florida with some of her church friends. I was sleeping in the guest bedroom next to her room. The guest bedroom always had 2 twin beds inside of it that my brother and I would sleep in when we had sleepovers at our house. I took the bed next to the window, but before getting into bed, I checked all the doors making sure they were locked. When I did get into bed, it was early, and I didn't actually go to sleep for a while. There wasn't much to do at my grandma's house. I was just on my phone for an hour or two, watching videos, texting people, whatever. That's when I thought I could start hearing someone's voice outside. It sounded like a woman's voice, saying hello. I left the bedroom and inched my way closer to the front door, moving slow because I was trying to listen.
Hello.
It was a woman's voice, just going hello like every 10 seconds.
Hello.
As I got closer to the front door, I realized that's where it seemed to be coming from. My grandma's door doesn't have a peephole, but the windows in her dining room gave a clear view of the front porch, so I went over to that window to attempt to get a view of who was out there. I tried peeking my head in between the plastic blinds without making it obvious, but I guess I didn't do a good job of that, because when I looked, I did see a woman on my grandma's stoop, and she was looking right at me, as if she knew I was going to be looking through those blinds. Once again, she said hello, with some freakish smile on her face. This woman was older, but don't picture her as some innocent-looking, small old lady. She looked like she was maybe late 50s, early 60s, and something about her face just skeeved me out. I moved away from the window and thought maybe it was one of my grandma's friends. It was midnight, though. Why would anyone come to the door this late? And why wouldn't she knock or ring the bell? Why was she just standing out there going hello over and over? I was genuinely unsettled. I just went back to the guest bedroom and shut the door. Now with the door shut as opposed to before, I couldn't hear that woman anymore. Maybe it was that, or she just decided to leave. I started texting everyone about it, my sisters, my friends, telling them how bizarre it was. But a good amount of time passed in silence, and I was starting to calm down. My sisters were telling me to call Grandma, but there was a 0% chance she was awake, and she barely ever even checked her cell phone anyway. Just like that, something broke the silence.
Yo!
A banging at the window. Not a knocking or tapping, banging. I felt that fierce pain in my chest area as my body entered that fight or flight mode. Shortly after the banging stopped, I heard that familiar voice say hello. With that boost of adrenaline, I guess I had the extra confidence to grab the blind and push it up. There I was, face to face with this horrifying older lady, with only a thin layer of glass between us. I screamed at her smiling, gross face, "I'm calling the cops."
Yo!
I pulled the blind back down and ran back outside to the living room. I looked around the house, then ran upstairs to box myself into the upstairs guest bedroom. I didn't want to actually call the cops. I don't know why. I wanted to just wait it out. I crawled into the bed in the upstairs guest bedroom and tucked myself under the covers. A couple hours later, I was still awake, and I finally only then went back downstairs to look outside each window. That freaky old lady seemed to be gone. The next morning, I called my grandma and told her what happened. She started yelling into the phone, clearly panicking and distressed. She told me how a few days earlier, she was being watched in the grocery store by some woman about 10 years younger than her, who just kept smiling at her for no reason. I told her to calm down. I didn't entirely know whether to correlate the two or not, but when we eventually got off the phone with each other, I did have to give it a second thought. My grandma's 75, and she has lost a bit of her wits, so I do have to take some of the things she says with a grain of salt. But the way she yelled into the phone about the woman in the store really gave me the chills, and I still wonder if it could have been the same person.
Probably. To be honest, if I was, it can't just be a coincidence. But how did that woman, I'm just going to say it is the one from the store, but how did she know where she lived? More likely than not, she followed her. Probably, but she didn't, the grandma didn't see her. But, it can't just be a coincidence. Having like a few days earlier, seen someone at the grocery store, and while your grandson forgot after the house, she turns up.
My name is Nicholas. I'm currently a freshman at Syracuse University, which doesn't exactly sit in the safest area. I just went through a breakup with my first girlfriend, so I started getting back into the online dating scene. I was using the app Hinge when I found some blonde girl named Stephanie who I really connected with. She also went to Syracuse. We both liked to read, go to the movies, we even had the same sense of humor. I suggested we go on a movie date, and she said she'd love to. She told me to meet her at some specific point near campus and she'd pick me up. So, around 9 o'clock, I waited on some corner of a normal neighborhood block, waiting for Stephanie. She asked me to share my location with her, and so I did. A few minutes later, I saw a car turn down the street and start approaching me. Then it stopped in front of me, and the driver rolled down the window. It wasn't Stephanie though, but some old random guy. He asked what I was doing alone out here, which was insanely weird first of all. Then I said I was waiting for someone. He asked if I was waiting for Stephanie, and I said yeah, how'd you know? He said he was Stephanie's father, and told me to hop in so he could give me a ride to her. I took a good look at him, and he looked a little old to be her father, to be honest. I'm no idiot when it comes to sketchy situations, so I said in a firm voice, "Why didn't you tell me you'd be picking me up?" He claimed he didn't trust a random guy meeting up with his daughter, and wanted to meet me first. I took another good look at the man and didn't say anything. I simply started walking away in the opposite direction from where his car was facing. He started yelling hey hey, sounding surprised that I was just walking away like that, but I've heard way too many kidnapping stories to know where this could potentially go. I heard the guy's car moving, and I turned to make sure he wasn't doing a U-turn to follow me. I breathed a sigh of relief when he drove straight and turned left out of sight. I continued walking down the block towards campus. I got to the corner of the block and was just about to make a turn when I noticed what I was pretty sure to be the same car the man was driving, just parked on the side of the road with the light shut off. I briefly tried looking into the window as I passed, but the glass was tinted. I tried not making it obvious that I was suspicious and continued walking. I got a text from this so-called Stephanie person saying, "Why didn't you get in the car with my dad?" I ignored the text and continued walking. I kept looking back to see if the car would move. When I got to an intersection in the road, I turned right and then full-on booked it in the direction of campus. Surprisingly, I wasn't followed. I made it back to campus out of breath and started walking to my dorm building. I felt like I heard footsteps following me though. I thought maybe I was being paranoid, but when I heard a piece of broken glass being kicked by someone's shoe, I knew I was being tailed. I made a point of ducking down behind a van and stopping to give me time to listen for where their footsteps were coming. They were a few cars away from me. Then I remembered. I never stopped sharing my location with Stephanie, or should I say that man. I saw him. It was that old man. He was approaching from between two cars across from me. He yelled something that I didn't fully understand, but it sounded like he said, "Come back and I'll take you to her." He had to be like 60-something. There's no way he would catch me if I sprinted. I lost him easily when I ran, and made it back to my dorm room. My roommate wasn't there, so I had no one to talk to about it. But when I lay in my bed, I got another text from that man, and it was shocking. It said, "You're a little piece of fucking shit. You're lucky you got away. I would have strangled your ugly ass." I still have the screenshot. I replied saying thanks for the threat, it's going straight to the police, and I blocked his number. I still have the conversation saved as evidence, and I plan on going to the police with it eventually. Hopefully they are able to do something about it.
Goddamn! At least this guy has some common sense compared to other narrators.
Foxy, the mobile network.
Like other scary story protagonists. I'm not saying all protagonists are stupid, but you know, I know without those stupid decisions like kidnapping, like Mason Hammer's kidnapping stories and other stories wouldn't happen. But still.
When I was 18, I had a side job as a part-time janitor at my high school over the summer. I would work sometimes days and sometimes nights, anywhere from 9 a.m. to 12 a.m., depending on how much money I needed. Oftentimes I would be left to lock up the building when the older janitors had left. This was a time before the high school had cameras installed in every single hallway. So one night, one of my superiors, Tom, had to leave early, meaning I'd be finishing up the rest of my shift alone, and I'd be locking up for the night. He told me to text him if I need anything, as he always did, and then he left. I loved it when I was left alone because usually I'd just do half an hour of work and then just hang around on my phone or leave early and still get paid for the whole shift. I definitely pushed it with the things I'd get away with at that place. One of the things Tom asked me to do before leaving was bring all the extra seats in the gymnasium from the assembly down to the basement storage room. So I figured I'd do that, then just go home. I grabbed a stack of 6 chairs and started carrying it down to the basement. The lights in the storage room were very dim. They kind of suck. The whole basement of that school wasn't exactly pretty. It felt more like a basement to a warehouse. Anyway, there were what appeared to be a bunch of art mannequins covered by paint cloths. You know, those big things that look like blankets. It seemed all of the school's art supplies were stored down here. I dropped a stack of chairs down where the rest of the chairs were stored, then went back up to the gym to get more. When I came back down with more chairs, I noticed one of the mannequins was exposed now. The blanket was removed from on top of it. I know for sure it was covered minutes earlier because it was one of the front ones. I texted Tom saying, I think someone's down in the basement. He said back, what do you mean? And I said one of the art cloths were moved. He took a minute to respond saying no one else should be there. Then I noticed something. The art cloth, tucked in the corner of the storage room, sitting outside of the light that was produced at the center of the room. It was covering something, surely. I started to tiptoe over to it, but when I was a few feet away from it, I realized whatever was under that cloth was moving just ever so slightly. There was undoubtedly someone hiding under there. I ran back upstairs and locked the basement door. I texted Tom saying someone is hiding under a cloth in the basement. He said call the cops, but I insisted he just come back since he only just left like 10 minutes ago. He didn't want to come back though. He told me to be a man and confront whoever was down there. So I went down to the basement again. However, the cloth was now strewn flat on the floor, and whoever was hiding under there was gone. But possibly the scariest thing was yet to happen. As I stood in the storage room, there were loud metallic thumps coming from above my head. I looked up and saw an indent slowly forming in the large air vent above me. Someone was crawling through the main vent, then just stopped literally above me. And then, bangs. Bangs like whoever was in there was trying to break open the floor of the air vent. I didn't know what was happening, but I was officially done with this. I ran up the stairs, locked up the school, and went home. I told Tom the partial truth the next day, that I thought I saw someone in the corner and it was gone when I went back. Then I claimed there was nothing else I could say. Thank God it was my last week there, so it wasn't my concern anymore.
Goddamn! I swear I say that for every ending of a story, but you don't know what to expect with these stories, don't you? Right, which one now? Let's go down a bit more. Oh yeah, there's paranormal, but I swear I've already reacted to those before. Yeah, I think I reacted to them, no, actually, no one reacted to them. Let's go further down. Actually, let's react to this, and then we'll go to older videos.
Finding and documenting family mementos makes you realize how beautiful and important your history is.
Next episode,
Dropbox helps you.
Next episode, I'll react to more Halloween stories, because obviously it'll be near Halloween when the next episode will be. Don't know when it will be, but you just have to wait.
Big abandoned mental hospital in our town is always infested with rowdy teenagers drinking, graffitiing, and making a mess with silly string. Eventually the town caught wind of it, and one particular Halloween, when my friends Rye, Carl, and I wanted to go exploring, apparently the town barred off every window on the first floor of the building. Security of the perimeter was also ramped up drastically. We found out the hard way after cutting through the woods and seeing security telling a mob of teens to go home. We didn't give up there though. We snuck around the perimeter through the woods to another side with no people. Then we hopped the fence and started looking for a way in. That's when we found out that all the windows had been barricaded with carbon steel bars. We heard commotion all around us, but managed to stay under the radar. We didn't want to give up though, and through our determination to find a way in, Rye spotted one window that wasn't boarded up with steel, but rather wood planks. We all had boots on, so kicking the plank in seemed plausible. However, the window was simply too high to kick up at, so Carl and I lifted Rye and actually used him and his boots as a sort of battering ram. The wood was wet and apparently rotted, so it actually snapped rather easily. After that, we simply ripped off the remainder of wood, and boom, we had our way in. We had to hurry though, before security might see. We gave Rye a boost up since he's the shortest. Then Carl and I leaped up to the ledge and squeezed in. There was junk and debris everywhere, so I took some long, flat piece of wood and covered the window with it to hide our way of entry. After that, we were all alone in a giant, abandoned psych ward to explore on Halloween. Carl brought a few cans of spray paint in his backpack that we planned to use. First, we had to find a good spot to use them. Carl also brought 3 flashlights for us since of course it was pitch black in there. It was also weird stepping out from the cold, windy outside with the commotion and yelling going on to the scarily dead, silent interior. We planned on going to the top to possibly get to the roof, so we looked around for the stairs going through the dead, silent hallways. It really seemed like we were the only ones who found a way inside. We eventually found the stairs and climbed like 10 half flights of stairs to I guess the 6th floor. However, there was one more floor, the roof level, but the stairs in the hall we were in didn't lead up there. So we had to begin our search for the separate stairs to the roof level.
Minutes.
As we were in a long, creepy corridor, there was suddenly a huge bang down the hall.
Oh god, no.
We all aimed our flashlights down there, but the hallway was too long to truly see anything all the way down there. Apparently we weren't the only ones in this building. We tried to stay clear just in case it was security, so we went the opposite direction. We checked the whole hallway, then turned down some intersecting hallway area. I was in the back, so I would occasionally just glance behind me, just because it was a dark, abandoned building. A little after turning a corner, there was a crack in a piece of wood behind me. I turned since I was the only one to seem to notice it, and right there was someone peeking their head from around the corner, looking at us. But when I noticed them, they disappeared down the other hall. I called out, "Yo." I'm not really sure if it was directed to my friends, to the person I just saw, or both. My friend stopped and looked back. We went back to the corner where the halls intersected to look down that other hallway, but the guy I saw wasn't there. My friends didn't know whether I was joking or not, but at least now I knew we weren't alone in there. Eventually, we came to a part of the hall where 90% of the floor was missing, minus a very small strip still left intact. Rye insisted we were going over that, and volunteered to go first. After looking down the hole and realizing it wasn't that much of a drop, I was okay with it. It dropped into what appeared to be a bathroom, or at least what once was a bathroom. To cross, we pressed up the front of our shoes to the wall and grabbed onto a pipe that ran up the upper wall as support. I crossed last, and my 2 friends apparently didn't wait for me, because they disappeared down the hall as I called for them to wait. I then slowly started to cross the extremely narrow bridge between the 2 sides of the hole, when suddenly, I felt something grab the back of my shoe. At first, I thought it was one of my friends messing with me, but that didn't make sense. They couldn't have gotten down there so quickly. I had no free hands to be holding my flashlight though, and my friends were already gone down the hall, so I was almost in complete darkness and couldn't see who or what was trying to pull me down into that hole. I screamed for my life, so loud it could probably be heard throughout the building. My friends came rushing back, and as light once again poured into the hole, the grip on my leg was released, and then there was a sound of running from down below. We didn't try to go down there and fight the guy. We didn't even look down there to see how he could have reached me or if he was even still there. I just forced my friends to come with me all the way down the stairs back to the first floor. Now we had another problem. We forgot how we got in. There was only that one window which wasn't barred up with steel, and we blocked it with wood. We were looking around in a hurry because of what happened. Nobody would play a joke like that. It felt like we were navigating a maze down there on the first floor, looking for that stupid window. Every corner we turned, I was afraid we were going to see that face, peering from another corner. And it happened. Since I was now the one leading the three of us, I was the first to see it. At the end of the hall we were running down, there was that person, hiding half his body behind the wall. This time, as opposed to last time, however, I could actually see that he was wearing a mask. Was it the same person who tried grabbing me through that hole? I don't know, but I still don't doubt it. We turned the other way and ran. We didn't stop running until we finally found that window we entered through. Climbing out was easier than climbing in, and by the time we got outside, it seemed most of the commotion going on outside was gone. Security seemed to have kicked most of the people off the premises. We could have found a security guard and warned them of a potential psychopath in the building, but that would risk us getting busted. So instead, we ran back through the woods to the car. The rest of the night, we hung out in a parking lot, and that was our 2016 Halloween.
God damn. You could have been stuck in there.
When I was 9 years old, my parents let me go trick-or-treating without them for the first time ever. I went with my best friend at the time, Mikey, who was also 9.
Mikey!
We were to be back home by 9 o'clock the latest, though. I think it was getting close to that point when we were still out trick-or-treating. Trick-or-treating was a little worse in our town because properties were so big, so it meant more walking for less candy. We came to one house, which sat on a corner and was isolated by a set of tall bushes. We rang the bell as usual. I still remember it all so clearly. You're about to find out just why that is, though. An older man opens the door, probably in his mid-50s, thin grayish hair and a mustache. He asks what our costumes are and talks down to us like we're 6 instead of 9. He asked us if we were with anyone else, and seemed surprised that our parents weren't with us. Then he opened the door completely to reveal some kind of obstacle course tunnel he'd set up in his living room. It was made of cardboard boxes and Halloween decorations. Admittedly, it looked cool, and when he said in order to get our candy we'd have to make it through the obstacle course, it was very tempting. Mikey and I looked at one another and said okay. The man told us to come in, but he didn't look at us as he said it. Instead, he looked outside as he slowly shut the door. I crawled into that tunnel made out of boxes first, and Mikey followed after me. It was really dark inside of this tunnel since the man had only some dim orange Halloween lights on in the room. There were fake spider webs and other Halloween toys scattered throughout the box tunnel. It was actually really big and well put together because we struggled to find the way to the other end. But when we did, it led to a small room also lit up by orange Halloween lights. There was a note in this room pointing to a door, saying candy down there. Mikey went to open the door, revealing stairs to the basement. There was more orange light down there. The man was nowhere to be seen though. Me and Mikey started making our way down the stairs, and when we got to the bottom, we saw nothing but a big, empty basement. Then, the door above us slammed shut. We went back up the stairs to try and open it, but it was locked. We didn't know what to do other than cry for help. But we stopped when we heard the doorbell ring upstairs. It rang repeatedly, actually. We listened by the basement door to hear anything. Then we heard what sounded like the front door opening, so we started screaming at the top of our lungs. Then there was a commotion outside the basement, like 2 men yelling at each other, before the door in front of us unlocked and opened, and a man and woman came up to us. The woman hugged us and told us to follow them out of the house. We followed the couple through the living room, passing the man in the corner of his room, standing over his freakish creation. The husband called the man a sick freak as we left the house. The couple took us to their house, where the husband called the cops and the wife stayed with us, asking questions like what the man said to get us inside of his house. Apparently, they'd seen us go into the man's house because they live across the street. The cops arrived, and there was an overwhelming amount of evidence for him to be arrested and tried. Of course, at the age of 9, we didn't understand the depth of the situation, but looking back now, we're all happy that those neighbors came to our rescue, and justice was served that night.
Goddamn! I know, I know. Imagine someone like 15-year-old, like my age, doing that. That would be a bit stupid. Like, well, obviously when you're 9 years old, you don't really know the dangers of like strangers and stuff. But say if you were like 15 and then you were in this power of events from that story, you'd be a bit stupid, wouldn't you?
Halloween has been my least favorite holiday ever since I graduated college and got my own place. I hated the idea of strangers coming up to my house with their kids and asking for candy all day, but I dealt with it with a smile on.
You know what? All day, all night is like from like whatever time to like 9, 10 or whatever.
My face. My property is big, but it doesn't have any fences, and times in the past I'd seen kids fight each other with silly string in my yard. Hell, I've even had kids teepee and silly string my house. One year though, late at night, past the hours where the bulk of trick-or-treaters were out, I got another ring from the doorbell, and my dog Mika started going crazy, barking as she had been doing all day. I opened the door to a person in a full-body gorilla costume, only the face of the gorilla was freaky looking. It was a costume made to look scary. He didn't say trick-or-treat, he just held up a small plastic bag that was filled with some candies. Not a lot. Since it was close to the end of the night and I had a lot of candy left, I dumped a lot of it into his bag and waved goodbye. He didn't speak any words to me though, as he just stood on my stoop, slowly going through the bag, looking at the candies I just gave him. As I shut the door halfway, I stopped and continued to watch him as he looked up to me, but didn't say anything. I asked if he wanted more, but he didn't shake his head or respond or anything. He kept looking at me weirdly, so I just shut the door and locked it. I wasn't in the mood to be playing games. Plus, what he was doing was extremely unsettling. I went back downstairs to my den to continue watching the movie that I had on. That's when I heard something fall outside. The back door was right next to my couch, so I got back up and took like 5 steps to look outside. With the back patio light on, I could see a rake that had been leaning on a pole had fallen. Given how I left it sitting, it was weird for it to have fallen on its own. Being Halloween, I did feel the need to go out and investigate. I threw on my slides and went outside to pick up the rake first of all. It was not windy out at all, so it shouldn't have fallen on its own. Then I noticed the door to my shed was cracked open. I have a huge shed in my backyard that I store all of my outdoor equipment in.
Oh my goody goodies.
I went over to take a look inside. As big as the shed is, the lights haven't worked in there for years. So I had to use the light from my phone screen on full brightness as a flashlight of sorts. I didn't know what I was expecting to find, but I certainly wasn't expecting to find a gorilla mask sitting on a big box. I knew right away. The light from the phone screen only traveled so far, but I still dared walk further into the shed until I saw him in the corner. There was the person in the gorilla suit, only now he had his mask off. I stepped a little closer and realized he was facing the wall, just standing motionless. He was also not a kid, rather some old, terrifying looking man. I didn't know if he heard or saw me yet, so I started backing away slowly. But even though I didn't make a sound, his head suddenly turned to face me. It nearly made me shit myself or have a heart attack. I ran back outside and slammed the shed door shut behind me. I then ran back to my back house door and heard the door to the shed open with a lot of force. I didn't look back, I just went inside and locked the door. Then, of course, I called the police to report a trespasser on my property. It figures, however, by the time the cops arrived, the guy in the gorilla suit was gone, mask and all. All they could do was assure me they'd be on the lookout for someone in a gorilla suit. Then they went on their way. After that, I didn't have much interest in finishing the movie, so I went upstairs and called it a night. That night in bed, I did wake up to Mika barking downstairs though, so I left my room to see where she was. She was in the den, by the back door, barking ferociously. I took a quick look outside, without letting Mika out with me, but I didn't see anyone, and the shed door was still shut. Still, I felt creeped out being out in that yard that night, so I hurried back in and brought Mika up to sleep in my room with me. I fell asleep, not without hearing Mika growling slightly occasionally, which freaked me out a lot. The next morning and ever since, life has been completely normal. and that was by far the scariest Halloween I've ever had.
God damn! I did not expect that, to be honest with you. Right, what goodies? What goodies? What the hell's going on here? Let's go watch, let's watch, let's watch this one. Let's watch some Blackout. I don't know how many more we watch. Oh, bloody the quality, bruh. I don't know how many more stories we'll watch in this video. Maybe this will be the last one, we don't know. We'll find out.
I used to work as a construction worker and engineer in the Philadelphia area in my early 20s. My co-workers and I would do basic work like constructing add-ons to already standing structures, like adding basements to buildings. One of our jobs in 2012 was
this will be the last story of this video.
to construct a small basement area and extend the main floor for a corner dentist building.
Long it will be.
The basement was to have a bathroom and 2 big storage areas. We were making serious progress. By the time of the story, we had working lights in the basement already. The basement had just been sealed off, so there was no longer a big hole in the ground, and since the lights were working down there, we had a source of light while we worked down there at night. One of my coworkers, Jordan, went upstairs and then outside to help with work on the add-on section outside. I was tinkering with the electrical components a bit. I was no electrician, but I had a basic understanding of what I was doing. But suddenly the power went out. I knew it had nothing to do with what I was doing. I figured there must have been a power outage in the vicinity. The 4 of us didn't keep our phones on us due to the nature of our jobs, plus how dirty our hands would get. We all kept them in our jackets that we hung upstairs. But luckily one of the tools we kept in our vests were flashlights. Before I could even reach and grab for my flashlight though, I started to hear a rattling noise. The closest way I could come to describing it was a bag of coins being shaken. Not exactly, but close enough. It seemed to come from inside the tiny, soon-to-be bathroom. I took the flashlight out from the pouch on my vest, turned it on, and aimed it towards the bathroom section. We had already put up a door, and it was slightly closed to be covering my view from the actual room itself. It didn't sound like any kind of infrastructural sound, so I had to imagine it was one of my coworkers. I went to the door, and as I wrapped my hand around the side of the door, I waited a second before pulling it open, just because I needed to gather my bearings. But when I did swing open that door, my flashlight revealed some person dressed in all black, standing facing the corner of the tiny room so that I couldn't see their face. That is, until the person turned their head like a deer reacting to a sound in the woods. All I saw through the flashlight was the glow in their eyes. I slammed the door shut and ran up the stairs in my heavy boots, looking for my coworkers. They were all outside, apparently about ready to pack up and call it a night since the power in all the nearby buildings had gone out. I counted 3 of my coworkers, so it couldn't have been any of them in that tiny room. I asked all of them if anybody else who worked in that building had been there at all that night. They all shook their heads no. So at this point I had to lead them downstairs to show them the creepy stranger in the basement. They followed me to the basement and to the tiny room, and as I feared would happen, that person I saw wasn't in there anymore, or in the entire basement for that matter. I was obviously embarrassed when they didn't believe me, but I wasn't going to hold them hostage and make them believe me. So we all went back outside and packed up. I was the one with the key to the building, so I had to lock up when everyone left. After getting into my car and seeing the others drive off, I can't describe it, but I got a feeling inside of me that made me want to go back down into that basement and check one more time for that person I was sure that I saw. I took a deep breath, got out, unlocked the door to the building, and went back down to the basement.
Are you dumb?
The power was still out, so I walked down the stairs with 2 flashlights on, the one I was using before, and now my phone as well. I made it to the bottom step and then stopped. The dead silence in this cramped, unfinished basement, mixed with the fact that I was anticipating a sound, freaked me out to the point that I was about to turn around and go back upstairs. And suddenly, I heard the rattling again. coming from the tiny room again. I didn't even look, but when I heard it, I felt my heart in my throat and I stormed up the stairs, slamming the basement door shut again. I locked the door to the building and drove home. Thank God it was a Saturday, so I wouldn't have to be back until Monday. I made sure not to work in that basement alone anymore, however, and thankfully we finished the work within a couple weeks, and nothing else really strange ever happened.
God damn.
It was a normal night in the cold month of February. My wife and I were watching a late-night movie in our room in bed before going to sleep. At some point in the movie, the TV suddenly shut off, and the room went dark. My wife and I let out simultaneous grunts in annoyance. The lamps, clocks, everything went out, so the power must have gone out. I told my wife I'd go outside and check if the neighbors lost power too. I opened the front door and stepped out onto the stoop for only a second or two because it was freezing outside, but I could see lights on in the neighbors' houses, so it seemed to be just us who lost power. We have a fuse box in a small boiler-type room in our basement. It seemed unlikely it could have anything to do with that, but I had to give it a shot. I had no idea what else I could do. I went downstairs with a flashlight. One weird thing about our house is you have to walk down the stairs to get to the basement door. Like, the door is literally on the basement level. I was tired, so I kind of slowly and lazily stomped down the steps. When I got to the basement door at the bottom, I turned the doorknob and tried opening the door. It wouldn't push open though. I tried a little harder, but it still wouldn't budge. My wife must have locked it. I went all the way back upstairs to ask my wife where she put the basement key. She got out of bed and said she'd get it for me. I followed her downstairs to the kitchen where we had a key hanger. She flipped around the many keys until she pulled off the basement key and handed it to me. She then went back upstairs to the bedroom, while I went back down the stairs to the basement door. I put the key in the lock and turned it to the right, then tried opening the door again, but it still wouldn't open. I went back up the stairs and called for my wife to come down. When she did, I asked for help like a child, since she was the only one to ever lock this door. She came down the stairs with her flashlight, making fun of me for not being able to use a wooden door. And before she even tried using the key, she turned the doorknob and gave one good push, and the door creaked open. I was dumbfounded. I swore up and down the door wouldn't open. Then I joked that I loosened it up for her. Once again, she went upstairs to the bedroom. I entered the basement, flicking the light switch on, which only led to more darkness. Flashlight still in hand, I went to the boiler room. When I got inside of there, I tinkered with all the switches, flipping them from one side to the other until finally the lights in the basement flicked on. I was relieved. I shut the tiny door to the fuse box. Just then, however, there was a sound from outside of the boiler room, the sound of one of the basement closet doors creaking. I took a peek outside at both of the doors. One was closed, the other was slightly cracked open. My heart started beating faster as I went over to the door. I stood about 2 feet away from that door, listening. For some reason, it took until then for me to think, how would the switch in our fuse box for power be switched off all of a sudden? Then I started to think, what if the basement door was never locked? What if someone was simply pulling it shut? After a few moments of silence, I heard a deep exhale in the closet. I took off for the stairs, this time making sure to lock the door behind me. I had never ran up a flight of stairs so quickly in my life. I ran to our bedroom and yelled in distress to my wife. I was not acting like the man of the house at all. I'll admit I was too afraid. I did call the police though. At some point after the phone call, before the police arrived, we heard the sound of glass breaking outside. I looked out my window, but it was too dark to see anything in the backyard. When the police arrived, I led them quickly to the basement, but by then the closet door was completely open and it was empty. We also noticed shattered glass in one corner of the basement, and things knocked all over the floor. Whoever was in the closet managed to climb up a ledge where we keep collectibles, smash the window, and climb up out of the basement to the outside. In other words, they escaped and were never caught.
God damn it!
That night we kept the basement and living room lights on all night, and locked every door in the house. The next day we had the glass fixed. We don't even live in a bad neighborhood, so it's really scary to think that something like this could happen to basically anyone.
God damn! Alright, last story of the video.
I work as a janitor at a commuter college campus I won't disclose for my own privacy and safety. My job entails cleaning the hallways, classrooms, and bathrooms of varying buildings on campus. Usually I work later hours in the day, like 1 to 9, when the campus is less crowded. It was a stormy night in the summer that I was working. The college offers summer courses, obviously, so yes, I work in the summer too. This was during one of the biggest storms we've had that year, extreme winds mixed with a torrential downpour. It was later in my shift, anywhere from 7 to 8 o'clock. I was currently in the activity center hall, which didn't hold any classes, just a big ballroom, a small theater, and varying classroom type rooms used for general purposes. It was usually one of the quieter buildings on campus, apart from when events were being held in it. I very well may have been the only person in that building at that hour. I was cleaning in the downstairs section of the building, which held the game room, when suddenly the whole place went dark. Like pitch black, except for the red glow of an exit sign near the doorway to the stairs. The power surely went out. I took out my phone and called one of the other janitors who was working in another building. He told me the power went out in his building too, which meant the whole campus probably lost power due to the storm. After hanging up, I figured my job down there was done, so I followed the glow of the exit sign, but nearly shit myself when I saw someone peering their head from around the stairway. I called out thinking it was maybe someone who worked in the building, but before I could even really say anything, they disappeared upstairs. I ran to the stairway to try and follow, given that I would have to most likely lock up the building now and had to make sure everyone was outside. Quite frankly, when I got upstairs, I didn't know what to do in the total darkness. There were very few backup lights that were still lit in case of blackouts, and they were very, very dim, only lighting up basically a little around their immediate surroundings. I started calling out in the dark, seemingly empty building that I had to close up. Everyone and anyone must get out. The hallway in this building did one big circle around the big ballroom, and backup lights were distributed throughout the hallway. However, like I said, they were far between and extremely dim. I started doing my round through the hallway, and I was pretty sure I heard footsteps behind me. I turned when I was under one of the backup lights, but I didn't see anything behind me. I continued around the hallway, checking each room. When I checked the last bathroom and found no one, I figured the building was empty and safe to lock up. Walking to the front of the building, I heard footsteps again. This time I knew someone had to be behind me. I turned and saw a silhouette standing in the dark just beyond one of the dim lights. I called out, "You have to leave the building," but the way they were standing there just made me uncomfortable.
Get out, Joe!
And just then, they turned and ran the other way out of sight. I didn't know what to do, but chasing someone and physically removing them from the building was above my pay grade. I continued for the front door, planning on calling campus police. When I got to the front door of the building, I turned back to the darkness that was the lobby of this building, and about 20 feet away from me, I saw that silhouette again, this time hiding behind a half-open door. I say silhouette because all I could see was a black figure. I didn't see any body or facial features. I left the building and called the campus police. A couple of them came to check out the building, but they couldn't find anyone. Later that night, I got a disturbing phone call. It was campus police. They asked me to describe the person I saw the best I could, but I truly couldn't. I couldn't see anything about them. Then they dropped a bomb and told me there was a killer in the area who was in hiding and was spotted by a local resident near the college campus.
Oh, brilliant.
When I hung up the phone, I felt a shiver run up my spine. I didn't get much sleep that night. I also didn't feel safe at work for a while after that.
Well, I don't bloody blame you, to be honest, but yeah, that's going to be the end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you won't miss when the next video comes out. I don't know when the next video will be, but as you're watching this tomorrow, Epic will return tomorrow. Or Tuesday. Well, it's Tuesday for me, tomorrow for review. But yeah, I have nothing really else to say. So, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye bye. See you later, guys. Peace out.